So, okay, let's talk about mechanical children. So there's a couple of people I follow on social media, and they're always like business gurus. I just love following, especially business women. So there's this woman on there, and I've been following her, and I should share her post, but she talks about how, and I've been hearing this a lot lately, the place for our children, where the money's going to be in the next couple of decades, is in the trades. So let me give you the full story here. Be patient with me. So the trades, right? Mechanical specifically, people who work with their hands. Now, I have a friend of mine who, actually a couple of friends of mine who own plumbing businesses, and man, they are doing, and it's not just plumbing, it's mechanical. So here's what happened. They're saying that in the next 2 decades, the mechanical trades are going to be the place to be. Now, in my neighborhood, I live in a pretty nice neighborhood, and I've got a guy who built a house here a couple of years ago. There was this huge lot open, and all of a sudden this huge house goes up, and the guy owns a tire shop, making millions. The house that he built, he's making millions because he owns a tire shop. So what they're saying is, people with mechanical minds, what they recommend is get your kids in trade school, get the trade, but then help your child learn business. So teach them to work up, to move up in the company, learn how the company works, and then start their own. Because the owners of trades are doing really well, and boy, do they ever. And because there's a shortage of tradesmen, they're going to get paid more and more and more. So here's what else I learned. I have a daughter who's 21. She just got home from Peru. She speaks Spanish now and English. So she's bilingual, but that's not even the thing. So she's always loved cars. She's always loved to fix cars. Even at 8 years old, she's like, Mom, can I help change the battery? I'm like, okay. And so when she was in high school, she went into a trade. She took part-time classes at the high school for mechanics. Now, she was with a bunch of kind of scary looking boys. And I was a little worried about it because she's a pretty little thing. And I'm like, oh dear. But she did it, and you know what? She learned some toughness, and it was okay. And she learned to stand up for herself, and she learned to tell the boys to back off. And, you know, there was a little bit of, but it's okay. Then she went to college for a year, and she took all her mechanics classes. She got all her certifications. Well, and then she realized, I don't want a bachelor's degree. This is not where I want to be. But I love cars still. So how can I make this work? Well, my mother's has a friend who is a CEO of a major car company. And they have like 15 lots across Utah here. So she talks to this friend of hers and says, you know, I have a granddaughter who loves cars and fixes cars. And he goes, what? You have a girl granddaughter who is a mechanic? He goes, in my world, that's called a unicorn. And we do whatever we can to get girls in mechanics. I'm like, what? So then she talks to him. She's like, yeah, but the reason she's not going to mechanics is because she doesn't like the atmosphere of sexual harassment, these men, the way they talk. And he goes, hold on. I need to talk to your daughter. So my daughter goes and meets with this guy, and he goes, look, we are trying to change the industry. He's like, we've got 15 car lots. We understand that there's this industry standard of men not treating women nicely in these atmospheres. He goes, and we have a standard, and we're trying to hold it. I want you to work with us. Come be a mechanic, and I want to get you in leadership as fast as possible. My daughter's like, what? So she got 1 year of certification. So it took her a year or two of trade school, another year of certifications. She probably could have done it faster. I don't know. And this guy is eating like, please come, please come. Okay. Now it helps that she's a girl, but they also need men. But they are like, we want you here. What do we need to do? They're going to pay her well. They're going to, and then he's like, and you stay in touch with me and you tell me if there's any sexual harassment, any problems whatsoever. We will make this work. I want you in leadership. I want you. My daughter is just like, oh, okay. They're going to put her under a guy who's like out of the box. And anyway, it was just a really cool opportunity. But what we're seeing is these kids who are willing to work hard and love working with their hands, oh, the world is hungry for them. And the people who want to hire them are willing to pay. And there's an opportunity for her to grow. So we have this idea. It's more mine than hers. I'm waiting to see if she jumps on board, where she owns a mechanic shop that is decorated all girly, that attracts women. And then when you get a complete tire replacement, you get a free pedicure next door. That's my plan. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, so all of you like that? Sonia, would you not be like, oh, honey, I'll take the car into the mechanic? Sometimes I'm like, honey, you take the car. You take the car. Wouldn't it be awesome to be like, I'll take the car in because I get a free pedicure. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so going on that one day. So anyway, so her plan now is she's going to start working with this guy, start learning, get into leadership, see what happens. But what I'm finding is this is actually really true. So if your children are interested in trades, they can start as early as 16 at most technical schools. If you have a child at high school age who wants to do any kind of work with their hands stuff, don't discourage it. It used to be like this discouraged thing, the white collar is where the money is and the college degrees and the blue collars aren't. No, it's changed. It's not like that anymore. Your blue collar people make money. And one of these plumber friends of ours invited us to one of his properties with his 10 four-wheelers and his 10 acres. And we went out and played on this property. He just holds for fun. And I'm watching the money this guy has. And it's because he owns a plumbing company. Guys, get your kids into trades. So, and if you have children into trades, there's a world waiting for them. And they can start, sometimes they can start as early as 15. There's schools out there that can do it in a year. Like if she didn't have all of this information already, in 1 year, she could get it all. So if your kids are interested, they like working with their hands, get them into the trades, but with the idea that eventually they're going to own their own company, their own business. And then they start showing that interest and the bosses will take them in. You need daycare next door so you can do mommy time. I know. I thought about that. I'm like, with a little daycare, the Vasa or workout place has a little daycare so mom can work out. Yeah. I'm thinking the car place needs a little daycare and a little pedicure place. Yeah. I don't take my vehicles because they see me and think I'm going to make $1 or 1,000. Right. And when you can find, like, when you find a mechanic who will be so honest with you, or you're not the most loyal. We found a mechanic that was so honest with us. We would bring in our old car and he would go, I can fix this. But I gotta be honest, with the value, the age of your car, you're gonna be back in a few weeks with another one. He could have like taken us for a ride for years with us fixing that car. And finally he was like, you're gonna be better off if you buy something else. Like he was very honest with this. And then he would be like, and then one time they screwed up on one of our cars. Oh, but boy, did they, I'm so sorry. They fixed it. Anyway, you gotta find an honest mechanic. Yes, a good, honest mechanic is honest. It's hard to find when you find them. Anyway, I'm a big fan of owning a mechanic shop, guys. I never thought anything of it until I saw this guy build a house down the street. He owns a tire shop. It's called Rocky's. He owns one store, Main Street in a small town. Dude's making millions. Guys, get your kids to own businesses. I know we all have at least one child who's interested in mechanics. And I grew up, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up being told that, you know, blue collar was some kind of lower form of job and that it's the doctors and lawyers you want your kids to be. And I'm like, I don't want my kids to go. I mean, if they want to, that's great. I will support that. But I'm thinking my kids are especially homeschooled kids. I think a lot of kids are this way. But I think your homeschool kid is, like the mechanics, the techie schools have a reputation for having the dropouts because the public school system doesn't work for those kids and they're miserable. And so they go into these hands techie, blue collar stuff because that's how their brains work. And the world's been looking down on them for way too long. Can we just say, like, this is where the money is? There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. Has anybody read it? Let me type it in here. I recommend it because, let's see if I can spell millionaire. If I can't spell it, I can't be one. The Millionaire Next Door is so fascinating. Read it if you haven't, because it talks about the real millionaires of America and how most of them are tradesmen. Fascinating. I highly recommend you read that one. And what a real millionaire is, it's not like your fancy jet flying, caviar eating kind of people. They're really like your next door neighbor who owns a shop and just likes to save money type stuff. So good, read that one. That one's a good one. Sorry, that's my little kick for the day. Tradesmen, I'm a big fan of getting your kids into that. I'm also a big fan of teaching your kids all kinds of online stuff so they can work from home too. So, you got to go both ways. So how do you decide between trades and something like engineering? That's where I'm at with my son. Okay, that is a really good question. Let me explain this one to you, okay? My husband is an engineer. So I actually feel like I have quite a bit of feedback on this. So my husband does not like working with his hands. He enjoys details, organizing. He's very much an A-type personality. and he likes being on the computer. So an engineer is sitting behind a desk, unless, now my husband went to school for mechanical engineer, but works other types of engineering systems and project. And so he's behind a desk all day long. He does not work with his hands. Not that he couldn't, he just doesn't have any interest. Now I know other mechanical engineers that love working with their hands. So some mechanical engineers do a lot of handwork, okay? Interesting. I didn't know your husband got a plumbing license, Heather. She says, my husband did both. He was an engineer for 20 years, but then got his plumbing license. I didn't know your husband got a plumbing license. And so it's about how do they work? So my daughter just is in love with whatever she can build with her hands. So we realized there was a serious thing there when we went to like we call it a DI here. It's like a Purple Heart or wherever you can go and buy like used things. And she would buy broken mechanical toys on purpose, bring them home and fix them and return and donate them because she had fun. And I was like, okay. That's where her bliss is. She's happiest when she's building something. She loves the Legos. The other day, she went on a date with a guy. They went and bought a Lego kit and sat and worked on Legos together. And I was like, plumbing. Oh, not a plumber. New construction. Oh, tons of money. Yeah, but lots of hour and labor unless you can hire it out and run it, right? So I'm a big fan of like get them to learn the technical stuff. Like my husband's an amazing engineer. He's with NASA. He's happy. And he makes more money than the mechanics at NASA who are actually building the stuff that he creates. So there's that. But if you start with the hands-on stuff with the idea that you move up to management and owning companies, that's where your money is. Part owner, but they still worked about 6 years work. It is still a lot of work. Hi, hun. I'm talking about you. Yeah, I was telling him about your mechanical stuff and how you just got a job and how working blue collar is a good thing. You can say hi. This is the girl I was telling you about. You might as well see that she's real. Say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. See where I'm worried that she's going to work with a bunch of mechanics? Sonia says hi.
Hi, Sonia.
Yeah. Thank you. No workout today?
Too sore. I can't let my head.
I didn't go either today. Oh. Okay.
Sometimes it's those days.
Trish thinks you're beautiful. I think so too. Thank you.
I love you too, Trish. I hear all good things from her for her videos. Like I bet Trish
she does.
Wonderful.
She edited some of these for you guys. So love you. Bye. Oh, that's my girl. Yes, I'm proud of her. Heather says engineers make a lot, but behind a desk just depends on what your kids want to do. Yeah, they can do both, and there's some that do both. I do find so an engineer is going to require a lot of math. My son-in-law right now is studying engineering and the math, and even he's like, I'm never going to do this, but there's a lot of math. So if you so you just have to go, okay, do they want to work behind a desk or do they want to be in getting their hands dirty? And that's really where it is. Like you can tell now where your child prefers to be. Are they enjoying all the online at the desk stuff? Or oh my gosh, just let me go build with my hands. He just loves working with his hands, figuring out problems, airplanes also. Oh, there you go. And there is nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously the money is always in management and owning the companies. So I tell my kids, yes, get in the trades if that's where you want to be, with the idea that you will eventually become management/owner. Like eventually work towards the end goal. I don't know about you guys, but I get tired of the day-to-day grind of, oh my gosh, one of the reasons we started my homeschool coach is because I hate that the boss gets to decide how much we get paid and what hours get worked. I don't like that we have to wait for the company to decide on a raise. There's certain freedoms you give up. And I want my children to have a different level of freedom than we have had, which is like financial freedom, right? Although my husband's made comfortable money, like I haven't had to work, which has been very refreshing, but we've always been penny pinching. We've always been had to be very careful, which is nothing wrong with that. But I want more than that for my kids. I want my kids to be financially free and to be able to financially help others. And I think that requires ownership and leadership. And those are things that I really want my kids to have. So those are things that we're always pushing towards. So yeah, so if you have a son who's like loving this kind of stuff, brilliant mechanics will always not only have a job, but will always have an opportunity, especially if they're hardworking. So the other thing they're learning, and this is the other thing I've been watching, is that not enough, even when they're hiring mechanics, there's a shortage, they can't find people who are willing to work. So if your children know how to work, they will always be moving up. They will never lack because they're hard workers, and they're finding that the new generations are coming up and they're lazy and they're not working. So work ethic is vital. So my brother, who owns a company, says the hardest thing they have in hiring is finding someone who will stay off their stinking phone. He goes, if I can get somebody who's hungry to learn, I will hire them over someone who knows what they're doing but isn't hungry. Or someone who's hardworking and interested, he will hire over someone who knows what they're doing but doesn't show the hunger or the interest. So they're saying that the hardworking ethic, hands down, that's what they're looking for. He goes, we did 10 interviews, 20 interviews, I can't remember how many, a ton of interviews. And it was just for front desk assistants. Somebody answered the phone, somebody guy. He goes, I hired the first person that didn't pick up their phone during the interview. He's like, there were people sitting there and answering texts while they were on the interview with me. The first person who did not pick up that phone during that interview was hired, and they're a favorite. I was like, oh, that's sad. Oh. We teach our children eye contact. We teach our children how to walk with their heads up. We teach our children to keep their phones in their stinking pockets until the interview's over. We teach our children to be hungry for education and the ability to work hard. Everything else will fall into place. Everything else. Hi, Kayla. So that's what we're discovering as we're watching, as my kids are growing up, and I'm watching them do interviews, and I'm watching them seek out my husband. My son, my 18-year-old, came home from his job the other day. He's just working a part-time, it's called Roxby's. It's like healthy drinks. And he goes, I hate working with the teenagers because they do the minimum labor and then they sit down with their phones and they stay and play on their phones when it's slow. And I'm the one unloading the trucks and restocking the fridge and cleaning the dishes. He's like, I'm so sick of dishes. Nobody will do them but me. However, he's been only there 2 weeks, and the boss can already see the difference between him and the other kids because he knows better. He knows to keep his phone in the pocket. He knows that he's there to get paid and he's going to work every hour. He comes home exhausted, but he's like, but Mom, I can't just sit there. I'm getting paid. I'm not going to sit on my phone. The boss can tell. And so when he asks for, I need this off, can you cover me? That boss will flip over backwards for my son because he knows my son's a hard worker. So this is who we are, ladies. This is what we do. This is how we teach our kids. And I'm off my high horse. Oh, but it is fun to see. We wonder sometimes, I have my days when I'm like, did any of this pay off? And then I have little moments like this with my kids where I'm like, it pays off, guys, it pays off. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. It does, it pays off.